Celebrating the Gandhian view of truth and critical thinking, let's rekindle the spirit of Satyagraha and understand our media better. Search media literacy on the internet and hundreds of websites will pop up describing its many facets. Some will contain articles mentioning multiple jargon and some will contain the top 5 tips for becoming media literate. But true knowledge comes from applying and practicing what is learned. Media literate is a person who imbibes the fundamentals in everyday life. But first, we must understand the basics. In this video, we distinguish between misinformation and disinformation. There is false or inaccurate information, and then there is deliberately produced malicious information. The two terms may seem similar, but the intention separates them. Misinformation is when people simply get their facts wrong. While it can be an innocent mistake, repetition can have dire consequences. For example, consider the case of a high magnitude earthquake causing mass casualties. An on-site journalist may get the mortality rate or number of deaths wrong in the middle of chaos. Given that natural calamities disrupt human lives on a large scale and human resources are often limited in such circumstances, minor errors in reporting can be forgiven. But imagine the journalist reporting false information about the deceased or those admitted to hospitals on broadcast media. The distressed family members hoping for accurate information can feel harassed, especially at a time when news is the only trustable source of information. Even though the reporting contained false information without any malicious intent, the victim's family members are the ones who would face the repercussions. But disinformation is beyond mistakes, rumors, pranks, and insults. It is a deliberate attempt to mislead people. It includes malicious content such as hoaxes, spear phishing, and propaganda. It spreads fear and suspicion among the population. Remember, agendas and motives of the few always drive disinformation. Now, imagine the same on-site journalist from the previous example only reports the deaths of the rich and those belonging to higher socioeconomic strata, ignoring the lesser privileged people. While the journalist might report the correct facts and figures, the news thus produced deliberately excludes a large section of society, creating a narrative that only the rich and privileged have fallen prey to natural calamity. This narrative might be eventually picked up by more and more media houses, establishing a one-sided truth. What happens to the destitute? They remain nameless and faceless as their sufferings are invalidated by someone controlling information. The United Nations enlists 10 types of misinformation and disinformation: fabricated content, manipulated content, imposter content, misleading content, false context, satire and parody, false connections, sponsored content, propaganda, and error. Now that you know better, pass on the information to your friends. Let's fight misinformation and disinformation with knowledge.